Welcome back to the studio. This is officially the cleanest corner of my entire house. So I don't know if I seemed stressed or not on my last video when I was getting ready to pack up um, the studio, but I was very relieved. And it was, there was a lot of good and bad. The, the good thing was that I was able to strike down the machine. I had taken my label maker and I had labeled every piece of the frame, and I labeled it front left, front right, a take-up roller, uh, back roller left, back roller right, support beam left, support beam right, everything, so that I knew exactly where it went when I got it done. And as soon as I took a screw out, I took the screw and I put it back in the nut and tightened it so it couldn't move again back in the frame, so that I didn't lose any of the bolts. But when I had started, I still wasn't sure how I was going to move the frame. I thought my roommate was going to help me, but uh, that didn't work out. Sometimes, anyway, one of the things my mom instilled in me was a stubborn streak. Some people might call it tenacity. Um, I remember once when we lived on a street called School Avenue, and it was a second-story house. And just as you would start to walk down the stairs from the second floor, where the ceiling would start to slant down, the wallpaper there had started to separate from the ceiling. And it was something that really bothered my mother. And she complained to my dad about it over and over and over. And he was always um, like, pushing that down the road. My dad was great at a great many things, but he was more of a businessman than he was a do-it-yourselfer. Um, so you can't fault somebody for not being good at everything. But my mom was not one to put off on something. So one day she just had enough in her head. So she just started picking at that wallpaper until she got enough to grab onto. And she just kind of grabbed it and kind of lifted her feet up and just went kind of like flying down the stairs, kind of what you would imagine those people that go on those rope trips down through the trees nowadays. Anyway, there was a window at the bottom of the landing. I'm surprised she didn't go right through it. Um, but she did end up getting that wallpaper off of that ceiling. I'm not sure how much of the ceiling came with the wallpaper. I don't remember that part. But anyway, my point is, she wasn't one to tell no to, and I got that from her. So when I make my mind up to do something, I don't like to be put off. I don't like to be told no, or something can't be done. We'll do it later. It can't be done now. So I just went ahead and took everything apart, and I just kept thinking, I want to get this done now. I don't. And another thing about me, I don't like to ask anybody for help. I certainly am not going to ask 2 or 3 times, and really am not going to beg somebody for help. So I just kept measuring the poles. I went out and measured my car a couple different ways, and I figured, you know what, I can get those poles in my car. Now my car is a RAV4, Toyota RAV4, and I have those cushy foam long mats that you use in the kitchen. They're fatigue mats, anti-fatigue mats. I have 4 of them on both sides of the long arm frame, and I had one that I stood on back behind the table that I used to talk at, my little performance table, ironing table. Well, I took one of those smaller ones and I curled it up at like a letter C. So part of it was stuck up behind the rear view mirror. And it was small enough that it didn't block my view, but it was curled up in the dashboard. And I stuck those poles all the way into the dashboard, and they were still sticking out the tailgate of my car about 2.5 feet, maybe 3 feet. So I put red flags on them. All in all, it took me 3 trips to get everything over to the house here. I had one trip with the Bernina, one trip with the black tabletop and the end frames, and then one trip with all the poles. So the good news is that all of that made it to the house perfectly fine. I didn't lose any parts as far as I know. It took me one day to take it apart and one day to put it back together. It was probably about 2.5 hours for both parts. Probably could have done it all in one day, but I was a little aggravated both times. And it's not really something you want to do like stressed out. The other thing was that, as I told you, I had remembered that I had gotten these wheels, these caster wheels. Now, normally these sell for like $400, but I had gotten mine on sale somewhere for like $225. I bought them online, and I was being cheap when I did it. You know, I was trying to find them on sale. I guess that's being cheap. And I couldn't remember at the time when or where I bought them, but I ended up buying them like in September of last year. I thought it was a little bit more than that. But this was the reason why I realized that I could move the machine now, because I could set it back up here, and they could still work around the room when they needed to do drywall. They could just move the machine because it would be on rollers. And even when I had to do the floor, put the LVP down, I could move the machine in and out of where the flooring was going to be put while it was in progress. And it wouldn't be too much of a disturbance. You know, I would be moving it myself. I wouldn't be letting anyone else touch it. So that was what allowed me to get the whole thing flowing. And I'm happy to say that for what I wanted, that worked. The downstairs studio at the old place is completely cleaned out, and the upstairs is about 85% cleaned out. I still have the cutting table upstairs, drafting table, and there's 3 other pieces of furniture that will stay up there until the property's sold. I'm using them to stage that room, and they'll be fairly easy to move once the property's sold. But those are going to stay up there. So all of the fabric is out, and I had a lot of fabric. I will say this also: people have made fun of me over the years that have been able to come into the studio. One of the things they always say is, "Oh my gosh, I wouldn't want to be here if you ever have to move this." And I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. And so I made a point not to ask anybody to help me move my fabric. I'm the one that drug it all in there, so I was the one that drug it all out. I did put some of it into Steve's truck, and he drove it over here, but I had my car and his truck loaded at the same time, and I unloaded both. I could fit between 16 and 20 of these Rubbermaid bends, the big ones, in my car at one time, and I could get about 12 to 20 in his truck at the same time also. And I probably made, I don't know, 8 or 10, 12 trips. But I did it all by myself. I didn't ask anybody for help. So one of the things after everything's settled, I'm doing a little bit of it now, but I don't like sorting stuff out at the curb, so to speak. I want to be clear-headed when I am dispatching stuff, but I've been quilting long enough now that I know what I do and don't want to do anymore. And as much as I love my mother, there are some things that my mom and I bought together that I know that I never wanted to do. Um, and now that she's passed, I'm not going to just hold on to it. I'm going to pass it on to people that would love to do something with that. So, I've already brought some stuff to the guild, and so I'm going to continue to do that. I recently found out that one of our members has MS at the guild, and so you know that's something kind of special to me because I have a friend also that has MS. So I'm going to making sure that to direct some stuff directly to her. She also does some kind of an auction every year to raise money for that. I haven't been able to contribute directly to making anything for her yet because just because I haven't had time to even make anything for myself. But that will be coming. But I am going to be directing some stuff to her so that that could help her out. But back to my story. So I got the all of the components back here to set up the frame, and the first thing I wanted to do, of course, was get the wheels out. Now, after I moved everything over here, then I had to look for the wheels, and I wasn't sure where I had put the wheels because I knew I had them in the living room at the old house, but that house has been emptied for since December of last year. So I knew they were somewhere in this house, but there would have been no specific place because the basement is going to be the studio, but the basement isn't under construction. So there is no designated space for things. There's a lot of stuff in here, but most of the stuff in this room I've been trying to keep like hand sewing stuff because I want to do hand applique in this room when I'm finished. So it really was a search from top to bottom, north to west, east to south. And it took several days. Every once in a while, I would get an idea of where I thought it could be, and I would jump up off the bed or the couch or the dining room table and, run to that location only to find it wasn't there. But I finally did find it, and it is a pretty small box, all in all. So I ran it downstairs late one night and put it by the windowsill. And I said, first thing tomorrow, I'm going to run down there and do that. So all excited, I got up and ate my breakfast and had my tea, and I ran downstairs and I went to open the box, and this is exactly how I opened the wheels. This is exactly what I saw when I opened it. Just as you would expect, a nice little box. Somebody had already bought this box and taken the wheels out, and I had paid a couple $100 for feet, which I already have on my machine. So I couldn't remember where I bought them. Couldn't remember what credit card I used. And really disgusted with myself for trying to save money too. This is what it costs you to try and save money. I should have known from the get-go when I first got it, because I worked in a store for years that sold Bernina stuff. And Bernina never packages its stuff like this. But I have had a lot of stuff on my mind. I mean, this was only a couple months after my mom passed, so I mean, it did have weight to it, and it did have something in it, and it sounded like it could be wheels, so it wasn't that weird to me, but I should have known that Bernina does not pack wheels like that. But I finally found the where I bought them. I bought them on eBay from a vendor whose title was Sew Something. So I thought it was a sewing company. And I contacted them, and they said, "Oh no, we've never sold that product." So then I sent them back their invoice for this product, clearly showing that it was from them. And I said, "No, you're going to have to send us a picture of the original box, the original little cardboard box that came in." Well, I clearly don't have that. Um, that would have went to the recycling the very week that I got it. I mean, I don't keep. I can't even imagine how many boxes I would have if I had kept all the little boxes of stuff I'd gotten since September of last year. So, needless to say, they would not uh, do anything with honoring their shipment. So, well, of course, they called me a liar also. And they said in the end, if I would admit that it was my fault, that they would give me a credit. So, I don't know how this could be my fault. But, buyer beware, I suppose. It's in a way, it was my fault because I was trying to find a deal. So then I ended up buying them from a more reputable dealer, and I got them within 3 or 4 days. But by then I had already assembled the frame, and it was much harder to put the wheels on the frame with the frame fully assembled, because the frame and the machine are quite heavy. But now the wheels ended up costing 1.5 times what they should have, because I was being cheap. So good and bad, good and bad. The next good thing was that I got the machine on and I put my robotics on. And the first thing I did after I got my robotics on was do my pressure test, and then I did my drift test. And I have the super motors on the Bernina. So the drift test for the super motors takes 59 minutes. And those of you who may not know what the drift test is, you put a piece of tape on a quilt that's loaded on the machine. It's just a dummy quilt. Put a piece of tape on there, and you drop the needle down through the piece of tape to pierce it, to make a little hole. And you do that at the starting position of this a mock design. And it sews this design out multiple times. I don't know, like 12 times or something, over and over and over again. And then it goes back to the start position, but it sews for 59 minutes over and over, over and over. And where it ends, you drop the needle again, and depending on if it's north or south of your original needle hole, you can tell that it's either the X motor, or if it's east or west, it's a Y motor, or vice versa. You can tell how off it is, how you need to adjust the motors that are on the carriage. And the bad part of the adjusting is every time you loosen the screws to either one of those motors, you're basically wiping the slate clean again, because you can't just nudge it one way. Once you loosen it, you've undone everything. You're starting from scratch. So you can try and hold it as close as as still as you can, and make a tiny adjustment, but still you're basically wiping everything clean once you loosen that bolt. But I ran my very first test, and I came upstairs and let it run. I was doing the dishes, and I made something to eat and went back downstairs, and the needle pierced the hole exactly. Now, folks, unheard of. Take the robotics completely off and put them back on, and have the drift test pierce the same hole that it came out of exactly. It was like unheard of. So that was really good. Then the next morning I went downstairs, and I wanted to just make sure that I tested everything again, and went to turn on my IQ tablet, and she's dead. So I made sure I charged it for 24 hours and she's dead. So I'm, you know, positive this is just a battery issue. This is a Surface Pro 8, a Windows Surface Pro 8, which I'm sure is quite old. So I'm going to have to contact IntelliQuilter about getting a battery replacement. I've read up about how to change the battery, and you have to use a heat gun and remove the screen, and it's a very technical thing, and there's a high probability of cracking the screen and destroying the tablet. So that's not happening here. So that I haven't contacted them yet. That happened late Friday. I charged it for 24 hours. That was Saturday. This is a Sunday I'm recording. So Monday I'll contact IntelliQuilter, and hopefully I'll get a quick response about shipping that back to them. Fortunately, I don't need it right away. My friend Marguerite from the Guild has like 10 quilts that she wants me to do while construction's going on. But everything she wants me to do is like custom work, because she does wool applique, and so basically I'm doing a lot of stitching around all of her wool little figures and things like that. So I won't need it in the short term. And I really don't want to record videos down there while, the room has got 2x4s and stuff. So hopefully that'll be taken care of before we're presentable. What else is going on? Everything is a disaster back there. I've had this room cleaned, I don't know how many times, but I have to keep bringing stuff over. One of the things that has helped, and it's especially good now because it's cooler, we bought some racking systems that hang from the garage ceiling, and those have been really helpful because they hold about 20 bins of fabric. I've got fabric in the spare bedroom and fabric in the back bedroom. I have been taking my red and green quilts to, we have a guild meeting once a month, and we also have a Twilight Quilters where people just sit and sew. So I go to that just to have a little couple hours. That's twice a month. And usually I take one of my red and green quilts that I have gotten, one of the vintage ones, and I'll put a sleeve on it because none of them came with sleeves. And I've got 3 or 4 or 5 of them with sleeves by now, and I've started to hang some of those up. I would show you, but the house is a mess. Hopefully soon I can show you. And I just got me a stocking in the mail. I know some of these, I think we've talked about this before. Cutter quilts, when a quilt is so damaged that it can't be salvaged, and then people cut it up and make something with it. I don't know. I know some people also buy quilts and they just cut them up. So you can't, I guess it's the same with any antiquity. These don't come with any provenance. You just have to hope that it was a reputable decision. But I really love this look, and I just was really lucky because this particular vendor had stockings that had the 3 poinsettias, and obviously these are from the 4 corners of the quilt because you can see where it spins, and I got one of the ones from the 4 corners, so I was really, really happy. I love red and green. I love poinsettias. It's funny because it's a tropical plant. They grow in Florida, and they have to like really condition the plant so that they don't get any sunlight off of. Even a street lamp will prevent them from changing colors. So they really have to make sure they're getting no light. That it's a change of seasons that makes the leaves go from green to red. and even street lamps will prevent them from changing colors. But it's tropical, and I always think that's funny because we have them all over the north for winter, for Christmas, but if they were outside, they'd freeze in an instant. They just can't be outside. They're so frost intolerant. But Marguerite was, after I told her my disaster, um, she was like, "Oh my gosh, you must have really made somebody mad." And I was like, "No, Marguerite, I'm getting all my bad stuff out in 2025 so that 2026 can be a glorious year. Um, I'm not letting anything get me down. Everything's going good. Um, I did feel stressed a little bit at getting everything out over there. The house still isn't on the market, but it will be soon. But things are as long as things are moving forward, then things are going good. Uh, it has it has taken incredibly long. I do feel sometimes like I have concrete boots on. Um, I do wish I had the Army Corps of Engineers come in and finish everything in one day and I could be done. Um, I'm one of those people that have dreams every night and I remember them. And so I always have dreams that like things are finished or going, and I keep hoping that that's the case. Anyway, that's my little update for you for today. I am just about set up to do another video after this one for an actual something. So I'm going to get to that right after this. But I just wanted to touch base with you. I don't know if I seemed crazy last time or not. Um, so good and bad, good and bad. I know sometimes your horoscope or something says 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So I've had several steps forward and a couple steps back with these things. But like I said, I've got a lot of tenacity from my mother. Hasn't worn out yet. So she just keeps tugging me along. Um, so thanks, ma'ams. Until next time, keep piecing it together.